Quiet quitting. What the fuck is quiet quitting? Why are employers freaking out about quiet quitting? Why is everyone blaming quiet quitting for the state of the economy right now? Well, quiet quitting has been all the rage recently. You've probably heard of it. People just disappear out of the workforce. They just quit without telling anyone except people aren't quitting their jobs. Quiet quitting doesn't mean people are quitting their jobs at all. That's not what it means. Quiet quitting means you keep your job, but you only do the bare minimum not to get fired. Here's a situation. Your boss needs someone to do overtime today. He goes, nope, you're going home. Here's another situation. There's a ton of people at the counter. You need to pick up the pace or else they'll riot. Instead, you take and fulfill orders at your usual speed. Your manager screams, go in one ear and exit through the other. The riot happens and you don't care. Maybe you're skipping meetings at work just because you can. Perhaps you're in a meeting but you're not paying attention. Even when you're doing your work like you're supposed to, you don't put in the extra legwork or elbow grease to make sure the project is a smashing success. It doesn't matter whether the work is done. You leave 5 p.m. on the dot, just like how you show up on time but never arrive earlier than needed. Hell, you leave work earlier than usual. Overtimes are a no-go, and using off days to catch up with work is impossible. If your boss asks you to do something out of your usual job scope, you refuse him, even if you have free time. You don't even respond to Slack chats, emails, or messages once you get off work. If there's an urgent task that needs to be done, that can wait. Is the boss pissed about something you did? Call me on Monday morning when I arrive at the office. I think you understand what quiet quitting means now. Quiet quitting means you don't quit your job, but you do the bare minimum to keep your job. You need to keep those paychecks coming to pay the bills. If you still don't understand what quiet quitting is, quiet quitting just means slacking. Quiet quitting is just another way to say you're slacking at your job. Quiet quitting means you have given up on work and you never go above and beyond at work. When you clock in, the only thing you do is your job and nothing else. You don't collaborate with anyone else and you don't try to improve the business or improve customer satisfaction. You just turn up, do your job, kinda, and leave. You understand what quiet quitting is now. But why are people quiet quitting? And where did quiet quitting come from? The term quiet quitting actually originated from a tweet in March 2022, where a certain Dr. Justin Carrington coined the term quiet quitting, explaining that a lot of people were quiet quitting because they felt burnout because of work. Problems with work-life balance have been prevalent throughout history. It's not uncommon to suffer from poor work-life balance. The difference now is that there's a recession going on. Inflation is making everyday prices more expensive and people's buying power have dwindled, and unfortunately, their pay hasn't changed much. Now employers want employees to work more because the recession is drying up their business revenues. Employees just feel that it isn't worth it to work anymore for the same salary. The working population today is also a new generation of workers. Back then, it was the baby boomers workforce. Now it's the millennial workforce. And millennials generally don't want work to be the only thing they live for. Millennials work to live, not live to work. The term quiet quitting, coined by Dr. Justin Carrington, exemplifies all of that. But it wouldn't gain mainstream popularity until the term blew up almost instantly on TikTok several months later, on July 2022. A TikTok creator with the handle Zaid Lepelins, who also went by the name Zaid Khan, explained that he had learned a new term called quiet quitting, and he used it to explain why people had stopped working as hard as they did previously. Many people resonated with the video and the outright rejection of hustle culture, so the video took off and went viral. Later, the hashtag quiet quitting gained over 97 million views on TikTok, as many other TikTok creators copied the original video and used it to share their thoughts and experiences with quiet quitting. According to US labor statistics, over 4 million people decided to quiet quit by June of 2022. The number of quiet quitters could be larger considering how many people resonated with the term. Many employers aren't happy with this quiet quitting phenomenon. It's natural they wouldn't be happy. What kind of employer would be glad their workers are only doing the bare minimum to collect paychecks and nothing else? Productivity is important for businesses, and lack of it will only lose them customers and profit. The quiet quitting phenomenon isn't solely limited to the US. It's been seen in other forms throughout the world. One other prominent manifestation of quiet quitting is the term lying flat in China. All those doomsday propaganda on YouTube may have some truth to it. China's economy is slowing, and the harsh pandemic restrictions the government is imposing on its citizens are destroying its economy and taking a lot of jobs away. Those who have jobs are grateful and will try to keep them, but will only do the bare minimum amount of work to make sure they don't get fired. Lying flat is a mindset where instead of being a productive member of Chinese society, they shouldn't study hard, they shouldn't try to buy a home or start a family, because all of that is impossible. Finding a wife to marry in China is unlikely because of the skewed male to female ratio. With more men than women in China, the job market in China is oversaturated. Fresh graduates can't even find work. Buying houses is almost impossible without resorting to the help from other other family members, and upward mobility is almost a pipe dream. It has always been a trend in China to expect things to get better and better. China's economic boom had skewed its citizens' expectations and fooled them into believing that the future would only get better and better, but it didn't. The average Chinese citizen today will never live better lives than the ones that came before them. There's no point in working when none of your dreams will ever be fulfilled, so lie flat and do nothing. Lying flat is the same as quiet quitting. Both terms imply a mindset of not giving your all to work and doing the bare minimum to survive. It shows how universal quiet quitting is. There was one precursor which led to similar mindsets developing throughout the world. The pandemic was that precursor. It stopped people from going to work for a long time. This gave people time to stay cooped up in their tiny homes and gave them time to think about their lives. In the process, workers realized the futility of work and reassessed their relationship with working culture. This led to a larger emphasis on better work-life balance. After the pandemic reopening, people went to work as usual. What changed was their mindsets towards work. It was no longer a case of building your entire identity based on the work you did, but rather what you did outside of work that defined you. That's wonderful for the workers. They've attached more meaning to their lives, but they're still quiet quitting and slacking while they're working. So what can employers do to solve this? A better work-life balance is one. After the pandemic, there was a great resignation where people actually quit their jobs instead of just keeping them and doing the bare minimum. Among the most common reasons cited for the quitting was the high cost of living, stagnant wages, and a desire for remote work and burnout. So employers could use the most obvious solution and give everyone a higher pay. Keep up with inflation and dole out bonuses. Yeah, that's not happening, is it? The other less effective but still meaningful ways of helping people deal with quiet quitting is to make the work environment a better place to work, prioritizing the employee's mental health, giving employees a reason to return to the workplace, and discussing any issues the employees might have regarding their work. While there are companies that do some form of or all of those, most companies are resorting to worker surveillance systems to track their employees' performance and work. Since the start of the pandemic, 1 out of 3 medium to large US companies have adopted some sort of worker surveillance system. Employees don't like to be monitored, especially when they're at work. Sometimes the companies don't even give employees any sign that their work is being monitored. McKesson, a pharmaceutical company, tracked over 130 million emails and checked if their employees were interacting with their fellow co-workers to determine which relationships led to the highest turnover. Microsoft tracked their workers' performance and sent their sales team members personalized dashboards that tracked their performance, how they spent their time. Also, employees could take suggestions on how to engage more with customers. Microsoft is a software company, so it sold its worker tracking software to Macy's, where the managers there used the software to gauge employee emails, check which meetings were redundant. These tools are sophisticated and versatile, but they are likely to backfire because no employee wants to be monitored by their boss 24/7. Having Big Brother breathing down your neck never feels good. You don't need Orwellian nonsense in the workforce that erodes worker autonomy and trust. Bosses don't need to spy on their workers. They need to reconcile with the quiet quitting trend and improve their employees' work environment, pay, and work-life balance. They need to help workers regain their passion for work. No more above and beyond or overtime. Respect work-life boundaries, and if they can't, well, let's hope the company stays afloat while the quiet quitting trend continues for the coming years. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.